Hi, my name is Heather. I'd like to welcome you to the Knits and Things podcast. This is episode 19, 100 member giveaway. So I'd like to start off by saying welcome to everybody, new and old. I've been getting very behind on welcoming new members, and when I checked today to see how many members there were that I would have to catch up with, I saw that we're up to 100 members. We're actually, this morning I saw we were up to 108. So I would like to, at the end of the episode, I'd like to go back and do a 100 member giveaway. So remind me at the end of the podcast. And other than that, I'd like to say I'm so sorry for being so late in podcasting. I know a couple of people, I had mentioned a segment that I'm going to do today about finding out how much yardage you have and about finding out how much or what kind of fiber you have on a mystery ball of yarn. And so a couple people were waiting for that. So I apologize for being so late. It's been a crazy week, just crazy. You know, the second quarter of the year has gone by for school, and this is around the time where we call some parents in and let them know that, oh no, you know, if your child continues the way they have been, there's a chance that they might be retained. And usually that's like the wake-up call. I've only ever retained one child before in my career. I've had several students in my class who had been retained, but in my school what we do is if they are retained in the grade level, then they go to the other teacher in the grade level. So I've had students that were retained from a different teacher that spent time in my class, but I have only retained one student. Actually, last year I did think that somebody else needed to be, but my judgment was passed over. So he was not retained. So, but it's a stressful time. So yesterday I had 3 meetings in a row for those children in my class who were concerned about because they have not made any progress. And actually what I would like to see happen is I would like to see 2 of them tested because there has been absolutely no progress at all. And they get help from me, they get help from another teacher who comes in and helps them, and she's not just any teacher, she's a retired kindergarten teacher that people used to lie, steal, and cheat to get their kid in her class. We had people that came from all over and lied about living in our zone so that their kid could be in this woman's class. And she loves kids, and she couldn't stay away. She retired, in the very next year she came back to the school to do the job that she's doing now, which is helping out with reading. So they get help from me, they get help from her, they get extra interventions, and you know, we've already talked with the families and had them putting different things in place. I have a classroom assistant in my room, and I have a student intern this year, and everybody focuses on these children, and they're not coming along. Something is not clicking. So I would like to see a couple of them tested, but I don't make the decisions, and I'll leave it at that. So, yes. So that was stressful for me. I also had, my ex had health issues this week, and so time that I thought that I was going to be in the house alone, I was not. So I usually record Monday evenings, and Monday evening I was running my child to his dad so that he could see his dad, who had just had oral surgery. So he didn't spend his normal time at his dad's for dinner like he does every Monday. And then Wednesday, I thought I was going to get some time, and I got myself all together, and I came home, and I'm getting my stuff, and in walks my son and his dad. And I'm like, what are you guys doing here? And sure enough, there was another issue. It was actually a good issue. Well, a good issue for my son. I think I mentioned a while ago that he now wears a continuous glucose monitor for his diabetes that tells us what his blood sugar is all the time, but he actually had stopped wearing it. He refused to let us insert it or put it on him because the insertion actually hurts. My son is not, he's a big wimp when it comes to needles, which is why when he was diagnosed with diabetes, I'm like, are you kidding me? Can we have something else, please? Something else, please, because... So yeah, he had actually refused to wear it for about 2 weeks. So we actually got a prescription for numbing cream. So they were actually here because he had picked up the numbing cream, and for some reason they needed to be here in order to do it. So Wednesday was out too. So it's been crazy. So it's Friday night, and it's Friday, it's Friday, February 7th, and it's opening ceremonies night. So I'm going to record, and I'm going to get myself together, and I'm going to watch the opening ceremonies and cast on my shawl. So I decided before all that stuff, before all the relaxing stuff happens later, that I would go ahead and do the podcast now. So, is there anything else I need to go over beforehand? No. Crazy week. Baby daddy drama. Work. Baby daddy. 100 member giveaway coming up. Here we go. Okay, so I'm going to show you today how to figure out what type of fiber you have if you are working with an unmarked ball of yarn. So if you picked up yarn from the thrift store, picked up an unmarked bag of cheapo yarn from the craft store, or if you have yarn that was been given to you or something that has no ball band and you want to know what the fiber is, there is a burn test you can do. Now, I Googled this earlier and a bunch of different results came up. So there's a bunch of different ways that you can double check. And they all seem to be saying the same thing. So what we're going to do is I have a candle here. Get rid of some of my other stuff. I have a candle here. I also have a big bucket of water. I also have a big bucket of water so that I can put out any flames that need to be. And I've just lit my candle. Okay, so you need to burn a portion of your yarn so that, and see what it does. So the site that I went to, that I like, it's a little bit more narrative. There's one that's a chart that you would have to follow and say, okay, it does this, it does this, it does this. No. So this one that I found is from Crochet Spot. Right there. And it just says how to do the burn test. And it tells you everything you're going to need. And I've got everything here. And then it tells you what you're going to get if you have a synthetic yarn, which is acrylic or nylon, plant-based yarns, or animal-based yarns. So basically, if it's in synthetic yarn, it's gonna, when you burn it, it's going to smell like plastic. If it's a plant-based yarn, it's going to smell like burnt linen, or like if you've ever, like with matches or a lighter or whatever, scorched like your sheets or something like that, it's going to smell like that. Also, the flame will continue to burn until you put it in water, or until it burns through the whole fiber, kind of like a candle flame. It's easy to extinguish and it gives a fine ash. If it's an animal-based yarn like a wool, silk, alpaca, or angora, so all you're going to be able to tell is animal-based or plant-based or acrylic. It's going to smell like burnt hair, which makes sense because it is hair. Well, I know it's fiber. Anyway, it's going to smell like burnt hair. The flame almost immediately dies down all on its own, and it's going to leave charred, crisp ashes. Synthetic yarn does not leave ashes, so there's a lot of good markers to tell what's going to happen. So I've got my candle going, and it's not really close to anything. I've got a bowl of water going, and I have some yarn. I think that what I have is a little bit, I don't think it's going to be all wool. If it's a blend, you'll have very inconclusive results. So I also have some wool so that we can look at the difference between real wool and something that might be a blend or a synthetic. So I'm only going to burn just a teeny tiny bit of this because I want to save the yarn, because I want to knit the yarn, not burn it, right? So I'm going to hold this over the flame with some tweezers because I'm not crazy. And we're going to see what happens. And I'm going to tell you, I tried to think of different ways that I could do this, but without making you guys sick, I think this is going to be the best method. I don't have a big enough tray. I guess I could get a cookie sheet, couldn't I? I could get a cookie sheet. So let's try that, because I want you guys to be able to see this, not just believe what I heard, or otherwise you could just read it on the internet, right? So I'm going to pause and I'll be back with a cookie. So I'm back and I have my cookie. Actually, I have a roasting pan. Same difference. And we're going to try this. and hopefully it works out well. So here's my yarn. I'm trying to hold it where I can get it to go over the flame without... Okay, so we're going to try this and see what happens. If not, I just won't air this. It winds up being a big embarrassment mess. So this, I do believe, is... I wish there was some way I could hold it a little bit further away. This, I do believe, is an acrylic blend. That feels pretty good. If I tried to break it with my hands, I know, get to the burning already, right? If I tried to break it with my hands, oh, if I try and break it with my hands, it does break. So it may be wool. Maybe I really did find a really good deal at the craft store. We shall see. So hopefully, let's hold it way down. Hopefully, if it does burn quickly, I can move in time. So, flame, yarn. It's burning. That looks like it's burning pretty quickly. So, oh, and you know what? And it is extinguished very easily. And it smells like burning hair. So, when we go back to our chart, we see smells like burnt hair, animal-based yarns. Ooh, it does. Oh. Smells like burnt hair. Flame almost immediately dies on its own. So when I dropped it, as soon as I dropped it, it went out on its own. That's a good sign. Immediately dies on its own, and it leaves charred and crisp ashes. And if you could see the little pieces that are left, this has not been burning long, so it's not going to tip and burn me. The little pieces that are left look like little charred pieces of yarn. And let's see if they're crisp. Oh, yep. They're very crunchy and crisp. Cool. So I scored a bunch of lace, heavy lace weight, light fingering weight wool yarn in a whole big bag for like $5 from the craft store. Yay! So pretty good find. And so let's double check and see if the wool that I had burns, the one that we know is wool, burns similar to that. Now this one really kind of worries me because it's heavier, so I'm wondering if if the flame is gonna travel quicker. So let's try this one. Oh, yep, see, it's doing the same type of thing. Ooh. Oh, it does. It does the same type of thing. It went out as soon as I dropped it, and it had its own weight on the tray. Oh, whew, yeah, definitely. And it's very crisp. I don't know if you can hear that. That was me crunching on the flame that was left. So awesome. I scored some cool yarn. And I didn't even need my bowl of safety water that I had. Just in case. Because one of them said that it was hard to put out. So you have the water beside you just in case that hard to put out flame, you can dunk it into the water. All right. Good. So, and also in the synthetic, it also tells you that the yarn will be eaten up or melted by the flame. So those were definitely, neither one of them was acrylic. I'm really excited that this is all wool. So when I got this, I thought, hey, that is thin yarn that I would love to use. And even if it does turn out to be wonky, I could at least knit a bunch of like prayer shawls and to donate or something. But I would like a shawl out of that myself. So there's a bunch of, I think, like I said, I think I have 9 skeins of this, maybe even 10. So, excellent. Good score. Very nice. All right, so let's move on, and I'm going to stop recording now. And that's how you figure out what your fiber is. So, thing 1 is... The big news for thing 1 is the Ravelinic games. I'm so excited. I've been waiting and waiting and waiting. I decided when I first saw the mystery knit along from Isolde Teague that I wanted to do that for the Ravelinics because of the way it was paced out. I knew it would start before the Ravelinics, but I already had stuff in the works, so it wasn't a big deal if I had to wait for a little while because I always have a bunch of works going on. So I looked at when it was, with the way it was scheduled. So far there have been 4 clues. The 5th clue comes out on Monday, so in just a couple days. But the clues seem to go really fast. I was really excited about that when I was watching everybody knitting, is that the clues seem to take no time. I think the first clue takes a while. I heard from a couple friends at my knit group that the first clue is a big clue for a mystery knit along where you have like almost 150 stitches on your needle by the time you're finished with it. But then the second and third clues seem to go very quickly. So that's what I'm hoping for. And I'm hoping that I can do, that's a doable thing to have, to work on that and some other things during the Ravel in It games. So the first thing I want to work on for the Ravel in It games is the mystery knit along. So I printed out my pattern today. Oh, and I don't want to give too much away, but this is the Follow Your Arrow knit along. So this is the one that has multiple clues. Each time that she gives a clue, you have two options. And actually you have more options than that because you can do multicolors or not. Oh, and that's not the right bag. So you can do a couple colors for your clue, or you can do it in just a solid color. So there's actually a lot of choice, and I think there's 32 possible options. So I'm going to cast on tonight, and I've kind of decided what I want to do. I'm going to try and pull up a picture of someone else's shawl that, you know, I've been kind of stalking the threads, and I've seen, you know, the options laid out and the ones that I like best. So what I think I'm going to do, and I've seen a couple that are like this. Yes, I've seen a couple that are like this, where they do, and these are all public knowledge. You can see these pictures on Ravelry, so it's not like I'm giving away any of the pattern. I think I'm going to do I think I'm going to do the option where you have, I see this happen to people all the time, and heck if it didn't happen to me too. So I think I'm going to do the option. The first option given is the A clue, and then the second option is the B clue. So I think I'm going to do the A clue all the way through until the third clue. So I think what I'm going to end up doing, there's 4 clues out right now. I think I'm going to do clue 1 is going to be A, clue 2 is going to be A, clue 3 is either A or B. I haven't made my final determination yet. And clue 4 is going to be A as well. So here's a version. I'm afraid to touch it anymore and ruin the picture again. But there's an option for this one is all A's up to the last clue, which is B. But I'm not sure that I like B on there. So this is A, B. 1A, 2A, 3A, 4B. But I'm also going to do all solid colors. So while I pull up the next one, this is the colorway I'm going to use. This is, where did the tag go? Right there. This is the Fiberfile yarn. Fiberfile yarn in their Willow colorway. It's a merino cashmere sock yarn. This skein is very green, and I have another skein that's just like it, but it seems to me, and I'm wondering if it's just the way it's wound up, but this one seems much more brown. It seems to have a little bit more brown in it. So I may do one whole skein first, and then do the next skein. But I really like, if I can find a different version of this, I really like the ones that are done with one color as that big triangle in the middle, and then another color as the remainder of the body. It looks really nice. Here's a good version. This one, where see how they've got the multicolor as the triangle, and so that's one clue. That triangle is one clue. The second clue is the very even lace work around there, and then clue 3 is very small, and clue 4 is just on the very edge. And this one doesn't even look like it might not even be finished. Nope, that's it. And so that even is the AABA version. So I really like that. And so I think that's what I'm going to do, and I can't wait to start. So I'm going to start that tonight while I do Ravelinics. And I don't know if I've shown, I think I did show one time a while ago though. I'm going to try and put on some beads. I don't quite know where. It definitely won't be in the first clue. That first clue doesn't really have, if I'm with doing the A version, it doesn't really have anywhere to put beads. So I'm not going to worry about this for tonight or this first part of knitting anyway. So that's the first thing for Ravelinics. I want to knit that whole thing. Like I said, the last clue comes out on Monday, so I think I'll be able to finish that clue by the end. I think I'll be able to finish the shawl by the end of the, 18 days for the Olympics. So that's item number 1. And then I'm also going to work on finishing up the sweaters that I have on the needles. I put down for my official entry, I'm going to be participating on Team Sasquatch. And for my official entry for the games, I put down just the Follow Your Arrow shawl and then finishing up my Water's Edge cardigan and my folded cardigan, or folded pullover. Because I do believe there's a rule in with the Ravelinics that if it's a work in progress knit, that it needs to be something that you haven't worked on in over a month. And so I've been working on my Miranda bits and pieces here and there. So I'm not going to enter the Miranda, but I am going to finish Miranda and folded and Water's Edge. So let me show you, I'm trying to figure out which bag it's in. Let me show you my Miranda. Let me put my pattern away first for my shawl. So, follow your arrow. I can't wait. It's going to be exciting. Oh, and I had my needle there. I was pulling out all my pieces as I was getting ready to record. So, there's my needle. I'm going to use my Chinese needles. So, and I think in the bigger size, that bend is not as noticeable and wonky. So, there's a poodle watching me. So there's Follow Your Arrow. Let me also show you Miranda, because I've been doing some work on this and I'm really happy. The increases and the widening of that center row panel seem to be really working out. So here's Miranda. I've gotten way down there, so I'm past my waistline, and I'm getting to the point where I think I have maybe about 4 more repeats of the center row panel to be finished completely. So it's not going to be long at all. And I've kind of figured everything out. If you had not started this yet, now is the time to knit this, because a new pattern, our new pattern version came out. The pattern writer, the designer, came out with a new updated version, and she has a chart for the center row panel, where before it was all just written out and you kind of had to look at the picture and kind of judge whether you were doing it right or not. So now is the time to do it, because that chart, I think a chart is really helpful. Even for somebody who likes reading the directions, I think the chart kind of validates what you're thinking before you actually spend the time knitting it and seeing that you were right. So Miranda, Follow Your Arrow, finishing up the other knits. I didn't bring those to show you because I showed you guys last time and nothing's changed. So I didn't bother to bring those out. Let's move on. I think that's all. No, it's not. I also cast on a sock, and I want to ask everybody's opinion. So if you have any experience with this yarn, please let me know. This is a skein of, a beautiful skein of, I don't want to get it wrong. This is the first time I've used this, but I've wanted to use it for a long, long time. Oh, there's headphones in there. Do I have the ball band in here? No, I don't. Oh, let me check one more pocket. One more pocket. This is a really cool bag. I think I've shown this bag before, but it's from that Clever Clementine, and she's got a bunch of little teeny pockets. They're good for like scissors and things. The ball band has gotten in there and kind of puffed out. I can't get it out. There we go. Yes, this is it. Desert Vista Dye Works. This is a ball of Desert Vista Dye Works, and it's a rainbow stripe. So I'm going to knit these as part of the Suburban Stitcher knit along, but I don't think I'm going to finish. Not with Ravelinics going on. The sock is my take with me knitting, because I'm going to try the Afterthought heel. I don't see it getting finished. So this is the her self-striping superwash merino and nylon skein in the jukebox colorway, and it's very nice and vibrant, and it's knitting up beautifully. I'm actually trying these with a higher stitch count. I usually knit my socks at 64 stitches, and I'm trying it with 72 stitches because I'm using double zeros for a nice firm fabric, and I love the fabric that it's giving. It's very nice, and I love the stripes. I wanted something with little teeny stripes, and so that's what I'm getting, and I'm happy. But this red, oh my gosh, as soon as I touch the red, it comes off on my hands. Has that happened to anybody else? And I don't really mind that, because, you know, you wash your hands, it goes away. But what I'm worried about is the red is right next to the yellow. So when I wash these, am I going to still have a yellow stripe, or is my yellow stripe going to go away? What's going to happen? I'm a little nervous. So if you're used to knitting with Desert Vista Dye Works, please tell me it's going to be okay. And I really love the feel of this yarn. It feels very much, it feels kind of cottony, so I have a feeling that it's going to wear very nicely. It feels a little bit like the lollipop yarns do. And that skein that I knit a pair of skew socks with those out of that, out of the lollipop this summer. And they are wearing like iron. I wear them all the time, and you cannot even tell that I've worn them once. There's not a pill, a puff, a smudge, nothing on those socks. I love them. So I'm really excited. So if you're used to Desert Vista Dye Works, please tell me it's going to be okay. So I'm actually knitting my first commission piece. This is a cowl that I'm making from the One Skein Wonders book. It's just the little, and it's loosely interpreted. I'm using their basic pattern, which is basically just the feather and fan pattern. I did cast on a little bit extra. I'm using a couple of different colors to make sure that I have enough of my hand spun. So this is just a little bit of brown that I had on hand. And I'll probably put that actually in a couple different places so that it kind of carries throughout for the button band. And then I'm just knitting and knitting and knitting, and I have I think just about 180 yards. Let me find where the ball is. I have about 180 yards, and in this 3-ply. This was actually from Cosmic Fibers, I believe, who I don't think is dyeing yarn anymore. She was an independent Etsy seller, and I think she was actually local to me. She was one of the first audio podcasts I started listening to long time ago. And so that is, that is what I'm using for my commission piece. So she took the price that I offered her, and I think that she will appreciate it. She's somebody who I know is very, she appreciates art. She appreciates handwork because she makes her own jewelry. And she's always commented positively on my knitting and my knits. And so when she said, I would pay you to make me one. What's it going to take? I thought, you know what? If she picks out yarn that I have available and she takes the price that I ask for, I'll knit that for her. So I'm doing that as well. And that'll probably be something that I kind of take back and forth to work with me, because it's not something you have to concentrate on. That feather and fan pattern is what, like 5 rows, 4 rows? It's not anything big. So that is all my knitting now, I promise. And I think that's going to be it, except for I really want to do the 100-member giveaway. So let's move on, and I'm going to show you. What I want to give up, I tried to do this on the 50-member giveaway, and I don't know if it's because the person never came back and watched the episode, or if they didn't want the yarn. So if you would like this yarn, I'm gonna pull a random number, and I'm gonna go to that page for the members, and if you would like this yarn, you are welcome to have it. If this yarn is pukey to you, you could trade it. Get it and go into one of your swap groups and do a trade for it. If you really don't want this yarn, please let me know, and we could maybe do a pattern or something from Ravelry, because I love giving out patterns like that. So just let me know. I would like to give these 2 skeins of Spud and Chloe Fine. This is sock yarn. Both skeins have, it's on the front, 248 yards. So you need both skeins to be able to do a pair of socks. Sorry, I was distracted by a text. But again, if this is horrible and offensive to you, please let me know, and we can work out a pattern in place of it. So yarn or pattern for my 100-member giveaway. And so I think I'd like to do this every 100 members. So what I'm going to do is go to, and I'm sorry I didn't have this pulled up. It has been busy here. I've been interrupted 4 times trying to do this. So, random.org, and I'm going to go back into the group and make sure that we have 108 members. To my groups. Sorry, I know it's thrilling. My boards. My group. 108 members. All right, so I'm going to go into our members, and I will download the member list, and I have them all as numbers. Okay, so random.org. Minimum is 1, maximum is 108. If it comes up as me, I'm out of there, right? It's already my yarn. And the result is 56. I have no idea how I'm going to make you see that. Whoop, 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 whoop. There we go. The number is 56. Hopefully it's not backwards for you. It is for me. And no, I don't want that. So member number 56 is, it's River Cameron. And she has, I don't know, I need to go back. I've been horrible with podcasts. I'll tell you what I'm doing with podcasts here in a minute. But that's River Cameron, and I know she had a podcast, at least for a little while as well. So I hope she's still going, because she had great knits, and she's one of the people that finally convinced me to join the Harry Potter House Cup, because she was doing it, and Lala was doing it, and just a bunch of people. It just seemed like everybody was mentioning it. And I used to do a bunch of Harry Potter stuff a long time ago, and it had been forever. So I decided to just kind of go for it, and I really like it. So member number 56 is River Cameron. So River, thank you so much for being a member. The Spud and Chloe skeins or the pattern is yours. Send me a private message and let me know your preference and how I can get these to you if this is your choice. So I said I was going to tell you what I've been doing with podcasts lately. I've been trying to trick myself, which it always takes a trick. But I'm trying to stay active and stay healthy. It's very, very hard in the cooler, cold weather, because I was used to, over the summer, my son and I really got into kind of the walk-run fitness routine, and kind of working up and keeping up our stamina to do the different 5Ks that we do for charity and for fun. We did a color run over the summer, and we have the annual JDRF walk that's coming up for diabetes in June. And actually there's a color run just before that, the weekend before, so there'll be back-to-back 2 5Ks in a row, which I'll hopefully be up for and be ready for. As the weather starts getting warmer, it'll be easier to get out there and train. But I always say, kind of like doing this podcast, I tried this week, every night this week to podcast, and it just did not work. Something came up every time. And the same is true for working out. I feel like I can make that appointment with myself all I want to, but as soon as somebody else asks me to do something, especially if it's my child, I'm going to say yes. So the only time I can do a workout is in the morning. And I think I've gone over this before too, is that I have to be at work very early. I'm a very early school. My students start walking in my door at 7:30 in the morning. I have to be to work at 7:15. Thank goodness I live 5 minutes away from my job, because I can only imagine I wouldn't be able to work out if I lived any farther away. So right now what I have to do is I get up at 4:45, throw on some workout clothes, come downstairs and work out. Well, my favorite workouts, the ones that give the best results and that make me feel the best and feel the strongest, are the Jillian Michaels Body Revolution program. I think it's a really great program. If you do it religiously and do what she tells you to from beginning to end, you will be a powerhouse when you're done. I don't look like a powerhouse right now, but one time I did, 2 years ago. And it really helped me about 2 years ago, about a year and a half ago, to lose a lot of weight and get myself back into good shape, where I felt strong and I felt healthy and I felt powerful. I was doing things that I had never been able to do before. I've been doing yoga for 8 years, and I've never been able to do wheel pose. Wheel pose is where, I think in yoga usually they have you lay flat, you put your hands behind you, you put your legs, your feet flat on the ground, and you push yourself up so that you're making an arc. I've never been able to do that. The only time I've ever been able to do that is with belts at yoga class. My instructor would have us, you would do it as a partner move. Somebody would string a belt underneath you and then stand in front of your feet, and as you push up, they pull to pull your midsection up. I've never been able to do it on my own. That's the only way I'd ever done wheel. Doing Jillian Michaels, about week 6, she has you do wheel. And I did it. And when I did it, I screamed bloody murder to get somebody in the house to come down here and look at me. Like, somebody else has got to see this, because holy moly, I just did this. I just did wheel. And I was on cloud 9 ever since, or ever after that. It was really great. So I love this system. But like I said, this was 2 years ago. I've been looking at these tapes for 2 years. I know exactly what Jillian Michaels is going to say. I know exactly which little cutesy backup dancer is going to be asked to pitch in and help lead everybody through the rest of the repetitions. I know the things like the back of my hand. So what I've been doing, I've been tricking myself. So maybe this is a trick that you can try too. Maybe it'll be a boost to somebody. I come downstairs and I save my knitting podcasts for 5 o'clock in the morning, and I put my iPad with a knitting podcast on right in front of the TV, so that when I need to, I can double check and make sure Jillian's doing what I think she's doing and what I'm supposed to be doing. But I'm listening to a podcast the whole time. So I've done Knitting in Circles that way. I've done Knit Girls that way. I've listened to Homespun a couple times that way. I've done Dramatic Knit. I save my podcasts for 5 o'clock in the morning. And then that's my incentive to get up out of bed, because I want to see what my podcasters have to say, what my favorite podcasters are doing. That's much more interesting to me than the exercises right now. But I still want to do them and go through the routines and get the benefit. But that's the only thing that's gotten me to agree to give up some of my sleep is my podcast. So maybe that'll help you too. And with that, I think I am finally officially done. Again, I'm so sorry for all the interruptions. I hope this goes together smoothly so that you have something of a nice podcast to listen to. And next week I promise to be better. So happy knitting. Enjoy the Olympics. Good luck on your projects if you're doing a project. And I hope your knitting makes you happy. See you next time.